Привет из Дубая. С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about viruses and let's start with the definition.
If you talk about some animals, we usually think that they have heart, brain, and stomach. When we talk about plants, we know that they have like ствол.
Root,
Sorry,
probably it would be root
root.
or maybe
It's
body.
corny. Roots, body, and leaves. But when we talk about viruses, it has almost nothing. And there is even in definition, sometimes people say that viruses is something between live and undead. Dead or undead? How is right to say? Undead.
And that is better.
Undead. Okay. So it's very small thing, and it couldn't live without any cell. So it goes, for example, in our nose, in our eyes, in our ears, in our mouth, and then it will install itself in the cell, and this cell will feed this virus, and virus will become more and more popular. And when your immune system doesn't know this kind of virus, you will become ill. And there is several stages when the virus already in your body. First is like time of infection. So it should grow for 3 or 5 or 7 days. Then you will have a peak of your disease, of your illness. You will feel not comfortable. You will have a big temperature. You will be even maybe with headaches and with slow motions, and everything will make you to feel disgusting. And then if you have a cure, if you have curse, if you have enough forces in your body, enough strength, you will become healthy person.
And obviously, it might be still unknown for the scientists, but like where the viruses came from, because it seems that their goal is actually to survive by, by making something or someone to suffocate, by making something to suffer just because of their presence. So, what is their nature in terms of, like appearance and the final goal? And again, like obviously, final goal might be like a quite in not understandable for the humankind.
There is several ways how people describe how life became on our planet. First is about evolution. There were very warm ponds and some small cells are united, and then we have fishes, and then we have creatures, and then we have monkeys, and then we have a mankind. The same, sometimes people say maybe viruses with another kind of life from another part of now our galaxy, and maybe it's were delivered by different, I don't know how to say, meteorites.
Meteorites.
So, but the same with God. Maybe God was created our planet. This has a name, creationism,
Creationism.
or this is another way when people when this small fishes became animals and then men. So it's depend from your point of view, but science not often could explain how viruses will appear on our planet. So this is very strange. It was a time, for example, ancient Greeks were thinking about atoms, about other stuff which contain our life, but now we have love from them, and we think now we know more, and this is a bit complicated, but not about viruses. Viruses, it's a great mystery, and not too many people know how to work with them. For example, sometimes when we will dig bones or dinosaurs from the earth, we will become ill because of these viruses. The same, it's a mystery of Egyptian burning. If you will disturb the grave of Pharaoh, you will be dead in a short period. But there is could be not just virus reason. A lot of people who dig the graves, the old one. So there is a lot of different ways how viruses could become, but usually they come from animals, from food, from something which is not clean.
And before we go into the part where we're discussing how we potentially could fight with the viruses, maybe something a bit different, like what exactly we can learn from viruses. Because, like, for example, if you think about this, even potentially, even hypothetically, they might be traveling across the time, across the thermal or like any other conditions, or maybe even across the space. So maybe, like we probably could learn like how to put our state body into the state where we actually can be really immune to whatever environments that happens. For example, it reminds me one of the like a sci-fi books. I think it might be like a stainless steel ray or Duna or whatever, where people just put themselves into status and travel as a force towards the destination. So what exactly we potentially may learn from viruses?
If you talk about bacteria or about spores, they are live cells. Bacteria has humidity in their body, but spores is a dry one. But virus could survive in any temperature, almost in any temperature. Yes, there is a chance that maybe viruses would stay forever, but there is different ways how to deal with them. It was a time when people start to dig some graves close to the monastery, and they found that a lot of monks were dying from very severe diseases. And it was a research, and suddenly people realized monks were using shit from the public toilets to put it in the ground to make grocery, to make plants, and so on. So working with bare hands, they sometimes were infected by bacteria, spores, and viruses from other people. So they were quite developed to improve quality of the land, but they were not aware that they could have an illness. Another way, for example, people try to eat like bats, like some other animals, and they are not completely fried. By the way, do you know that a lot of sailors, they were traveling very long ways in the ocean, but they were never even want to catch a fish, because in these fishes in the ocean there are a lot of parasites. If you have enough boiling water, if you have a big fire, you could kill these parasites and eat this fish with killed parasites. But if you will try to cook this on the ship, in 90% of cases you will be dead in 1 week. And the same with viruses. Some viruses could live, for example, on the stones. Some could live on some stuff. For example, someone has a grandpa and it's possess a sword, and suddenly after 20 years someone will take the sword and will fall ill with same disease. So viruses, they couldn't be dried, so they could stay for very long time, and this is their strength.
And now here comes the part when we're discussing like how exactly we could fight with them. And obviously, like giving the recent events, if we speak about like a couple of years ago, now we actually, like embedded some measures that would prevent us to get the spread of the viruses. But how else the humanity could fight with the viruses, or how else they can detect them, or how they can detect the consequences of the virus activity in order to prevent, or maybe at least anticipate, or maybe even mitigate it?
I have been to conference in Dubai, and this about virusology. It was like 6 years ago, and there were a lot of mention about Bill Gates. Bill Gates, when he was making his stand-up on the TED, he take a jar filled with mosquitoes and was explaining a lot of people on the planet will be killed by those mosquitoes. And suddenly Bill Gates opened this jar, and these mosquitoes were flying, and everyone in the room was afraid. And now this is a great example how to make people involved in your speech. But suddenly Bill Gates was coming, everyone, okay, this is not the same mosquitoes that will give malaria or some other diseases. So this just you to feel how people live in Africa, in some other countries. But we should understand that viruses will become more aggressive. This is about our лекарства, pills,
Sure.
about cure. If you will use cure to cure some viruses, then you will be used to it. But we all the time we shrink the space which are useful for people, for animals, for plants, and for fishes. So we cut the trees, we spoil the ocean, and we will вытесняем.
Push forward or
We
take more
push
space.
forward these animals, and they will stay close with us. For example, cats and dogs, monkeys, and I don't know, hedgehogs. They will live closer, closer, and closer. And sometimes we will touch them or some places where they have been, and we will get new viruses. And for example, if you have a health body and there were like hedgehog or hamster on your steps, and you will sit there and you will put your hand, nothing will happen. But if people with less power will take this, this person will be ill, and after this person will become source of infection. So you would not catch virus from this place, but another person will give you the virus in more eatable form.
And given all of the knowledge that we accumulated so far, what might be the future of the viruses in the humanity and the fighting between all of them, and whether there will be a chance to like any kind of alliance if it's possible in principle?
You know, it was time when we were living in a calm life, and we were eating just eggs, just chicken, just veal, and maybe some other sort of food. But suddenly we start to eat Japanese food, Korean food, and something else. So now we are eating almost everything. The more food we eat, the more viruses we could get. Because if you are living on the territory, your relatives, your ancestors are used to these viruses, and you have some cure in your body against them. This about this your immune system. But if you live or if you will come or if you will eat something from is not your homeland, there's a great danger to have viruses. By the way, it could come with a tea from a tea box. It could come, for example, with, I don't know, some kind of pancakes which is made from fish. I have been on Sri Lanka. They have fish pancakes, which his name is papadam, and they are produced from flavor from fish and so on, and they create by hands. For example, if you will go to India, sometimes you will see that they cook on the very dirty cutlery and very sorry, not cutlery, приспособление cutlery, yes? Cutlery, and even on the ground. So there is a way you could catch something which is not suitable for your body.
And my last question will be how knowing about viruses could help to make this world a better place.
When you have a child, you should realize that it could put the finger in the electric socket, and it would be very painful. But when you are adult, you think that you know everything, and you will go and take leaves and some berries and try to maybe drink water from the river, which is seemed to be clean. But in this case, you could catch viruses. And you know, maybe in 20 or 30 years, we will be forced to use special suits to go out of our buildings because of smoke, because of dirtiness, because of our inability to clean the places around us. It was a time where we were like a small population of 100,000 people were just hunting in the forests. Now we have like 8 billion. And when it became like 20, we have too many viruses in very small places. It will be so focused that the power of them growing would be so fast. By the way, you have been working in Singapore, and I have been working on the project in Hong Kong, and these territories, people very used to the face mask, to wash their hands and never touch by the fingers, because they know on the small territory viruses, they go so viral, so severe that everyone would fall down.
This is true indeed. А мы рассмотрели навык вирусы и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!